Okay, so the purpose of this video is going to be to just show you how to not only export your images, but also to export your catalog as a catalog, as they call it, just so that you can take it with you, put it on another computer, on another laptop, on a hard drive, whatever, and just make it portable. So now in class we did do that export as catalog, so I'm just going to quickly show you how to do that. We will go up to the File menu and go down to Export as Catalog. Simple as that. And then you just find where you want to put it. So let's say you had a hard drive, you would click Computer and then locate your hard drive. I've got a USB stuck in my computer there. I'm going to just use that for now. And then, my Niagara helicopter stuff. Anyway, I'm going to give the catalog a name, so I'll call it Niagara, or actually, we'll do our short form NC Week for Export. How's that? That sounds good. And then you have some options down at the bottom. You've got Export Selected Photos Only. So that would be, assuming you had a bunch of photos selected, but that's not what we want to do. We want to export the whole catalog. Do we want to export the negative files? Well, if you're sending it to a location, i.e. a hard drive that does not have the photos on it, and you actually are going to want to export the images while you're away so that you can either get them printed or send them to somebody else or whatever, you're going to need those negative files. However, if all you're going to do is work on the images, then you can just have it build or include smart previews for you, where you can still work on the images, you can still see the full quality of the images, but you will not be able to export them. That is all that is for. And then there's also include available previews. So you just need to find the location you want to export the catalog to, give it a name, and then decide what it is you want to do with that catalog. So exporting the files, that sort of thing. That's it, done. So you'd hit save. Now I'm just going to hit cancel because I really don't need to do that at this point. But if I want to now export my images so that I can get them printed, this is where the magic happens. Now I'm going to bring back my film strip down at the bottom. And normally what happens is when I go through and am working, a set of images that I'm going to either proof for the client or print or whatever, I will have gone through and I'll highlight one and I'll hit P for pick, so it puts a little white flag on it. And maybe I'll choose this one, so I'll hit P, but I will have done this as I went through, and that's all part of the workflow that you're going to learn. But I'm going to just select a few and put a P on them, no big deal. Okay, so I have those images selected. Those are the ones I like, and those are the ones I'm going to proof for the client. So what I'm going to do is go back to the library module, and I'm going to go to the edit menu and go select flagged photos, and it just highlights all those ones that have a flag on them, which traditionally would be my choices that I'm going to show the client. So once I've got those chosen, I'm just going to hit export, and that is going to bring up my export dialog box, where there are a few presets that Lightroom again has created for you, but we're going to create our own here. So we're going to go under user presets, which is right now empty. And the first thing we come to is that export to, and we have the choose folder later, which it tells you is useful for presets. Nice little hint there. That's what I always use, because then I can leave all the settings the same for, different ways of exporting my photos, and then just choose the folder I want it to go to for that particular batch of images every time. So it's kind of nice. Now, it'll say add to this catalog. So what that would do, if I checked that, which I never do, is it would export them in whatever file format I wanted and whatever size I wanted and that sort of thing, and then add them back into the catalog. So then I'd really end up kind of with duplicate images. It depends on how you export, because you could export them with presets that you haven't set on the images themselves while working in Lightroom. Kind of hard to describe, but anyway. something you can explore for yourself if you'd like, but not really important, I don't think, in my opinion. So existing files, it says ask what to do. Existing files is only if you're going to export these to a catalog where you've already exported them before and they have the same name. We're not going to do that. As part of our workflow, we have that all figured out, so we don't really need to worry about it. But telling it to ask you what to do is the best practice because it'll at least give you a last second option to get out of that if you want to. So then we go down to the file naming section, and you can rename the images if you want to. Again, you know, that's kind of that whole personal preference thing like before. Video, if there is video, you can include video files, that sort of thing. And down in the file settings, we're going to choose the way that we want to export these. So I'm going to go into this with the idea that I'm going to make web size proofs for these. And you remember I told you before that images on the computer are good at 72 dpi because that's the best resolution your monitor can give you, and images that are being prepared for print need to be 300 dpi at the size that you wanted them printed at. So we're going to make it JPEG because that's going to be the best option for saving these to the web. PSD files and TIFFs and DNG. Well, DNG just isn't going to work, and PSD and TIFF are too big anyway. So JPEG is perfect. The color space, whatever the color space you shot them in, you could leave them at that. Although, if you're showing them on the web, you're best to put it to sRGB. These other ones, well, the sRGB, let's leave it at this, is just going to be a better color quality for everyone's monitor. And then if you're using JPEG, make sure you always have the quality up at 100%, because otherwise it could look, you know, pixelated and have artifacts in it, that sort of thing. So 100% is always the way you want to do it. Now you could limit the file size here, but you know, doing the JPEG quality at 100% is good because I'm going to go down here and resize the images here anyway, so we'll leave it at that. Resize to fit. This is what I love about the export dialog in Lightroom. You can choose, you know, that you want the width and height a certain dimension, but then again, you know, if your images aren't all the same size and you didn't keep that lock on in the crop dialog box, then you're going to have issues there. And again, the dimensions, same thing. You've got long edge and short edge. Those are the ones I love because I just check off long edge. And I say that I want my long edge to be that 7.5 inches. Remember, it's not 5 by 7, it's 5 by 7.5. I could do 4 by 6, but I'm going to do 72 resolution, 72 dpi. So really, I find that 5 by 7.5 is the best size for the 72 dpi to view on the computer. So 7.5 inches on the long edge, resolution of 72 pixels per inch. Then the output sharpening, this is again something I was telling you about, is I check that, and if I'm putting them on the web, I choose sharpen for screen and the amount high. I like it to be really, really sharp on the computer screen. I don't know what it is, I just kind of like it. So that's my option, but you do have other options here for lower standard. And now you can go down here and you've got a metadata section. And you can choose to include all the metadata, or you can say copyright only, or copyright and contact info only, and you know, your other option is all except camera and camera raw info. So it will put everything except for how you shot the image. And so that's kind of cool if, you know, you're sending it to a client and you don't want them to see exactly how you shot it, or something like that. Anyway. You also have watermark options, which is very cool. So you just check that off and go to that drop-down menu, and they've got a simple copyright watermark here, but you still don't know exactly what that means. So just go into Edit Watermarks, and you can see it. What it does is taking my name that I have registered with the program and putting it in there with a copyright logo. I can go and I can change the text to whatever I want. I can leave the copyright in there and say, you know, copyright Niagara College, or, you know, week 4 class images or whatever I want to put in there. Or, here's my favorite option. We could choose graphic and then navigate to where I have a logo file, which I actually created in white with a transparent background in the PNG format so that it was easily seen on images and things like that. So then you can go down and watermark effects. You can go to the opacity and you can adjust the opacity. You can adjust the size. And you can say fit or fill, which fit is obviously a better option there. And then you can adjust, the horizontal, and you can do that, or the vertical and make it in the middle. So you got a lot of different options there. Or you can anchor it. You can say center, which obviously that's not a good choice here. I like to just kind of put it down on the bottom, in the middle, and make it proportional and a little bit smaller. And actually, my vertical, I'm going to bring that down to about there. Yeah, let's put it in the corner. Anyway, good enough. So then I can actually hit save and give this a name, which I will call My Studio Watermark. And hit create. And I could have put, lower left corner, however much detail I want to put in there would be fine. So now it shows watermark and My Studio Watermark. You can just uncheck it if you don't want a watermark on there, so that's fine. And obviously if you're exporting them for further editing or for print and that sort of thing, you're not going to want to put the watermark on there. So post-processing, after export, I just have it do nothing, but there's some other options here. It could show, open up Explorer and show you the files that, kind of as a confirmation that they've been exported or whatever you'd like. But other than that, I just hit do nothing. And you can also choose to run an application, but, let's keep this simple, right? So then I would hit export and it would send those to, well, actually, I guess I'll have to show you. I'm going to hit export. And then that's because I had choose folder at the top of that dialog box, choose folder later, then now I have to tell it where I'm going to put them. So I would just select the folder and hit select folder and it would go ahead and export the images. Now I'm going to hit cancel there and I'm going to show you another way of exporting. And this is the way you might want to export your images for print. So we have the images highlighted. We're going to hit export. And now what I didn't do was save that preset before, so it's not there, but we'll do that for this one. We have export to, again, choose folder later, useful for presets. We're going to leave that like that. And this time what we're going to change is we're going to go down to the file settings. And if we want to now further adjust these images in Photoshop or anything like that, what I would do is save as PSD or a TIFF. But if I'm just going to go ahead and straight print these now from Lightroom as they are, which I actually don't do. I always take them into Photoshop before I print. But we're just going to say we're going to send them straight to print from here. So I'm going to choose JPEG and I'm going to say color space sRGB. And the reason I'm choosing the sRGB now that I'm printing is because the lab that I'm going to send these particular images to use the sRGB color space. So again, I want the quality up to 100. But now I don't want to resize, or sorry, I do want to resize the images, but I'm going to give it something a little more specific here. So if I want to print these off as 4x6 proofs, then I'm going to choose long edge, and I'm going to say that I want the long edge to be 6 inches if we're doing 4x6 proofs. But the resolution I have to change to 300 dpi because that is print resolution, correct? And then I do want to sharpen, but I want to sharpen for matte paper. And I'm going to say standard just because that's what I'm picking here. You'll have to kind of play around with it and see what you like best for your proofs anyways. But standard is usually what I use for, printing off anything like this. Now the metadata, it really doesn't matter whether you include it or not, but if you are kind of tight about whether or not the lab is going to see your metadata, you could always just go all except camera and camera raw info, and then remove location info. So that's fine. And you don't want the watermark on it because you're printing these. And again, we're going to use do nothing. Now, I want to save this preset for exporting 4x6 proofs. So I'm just going to go down and hit the add button. And I'm going to call it 4x6 RGB proofs. Or sorry, sRGB proofs. Wow, having a hard time here. Okay, and then I want it to go into the user presets folder because I'm creating it. So we're going to hit create, and then we're going to hit export. So that's why that preset dialog at the top, that choose folder later, useful for presets, is good, because you can just go ahead and create a preset that has that in it, and it's always good. You're just always going to tell it where it's going to go at the end. So I would select where it's going to go, hit select folder, and that would be good.